Part D asks how large the Pigouvian tax for pencils needs to be, and a hypothetical one, in order to mitigate the externality. And since we know exactly how large the external marginal costs are, right, that was given to us at 0.5 times quantity, then the tax should be exactly that amount. So we'll say the Pigouvian tax should equal 0.5 times quantity, right? So moving on to E, E asks us now to use that value, right? It says, okay, suppose that is what the government passes on the production of pencils. Does that tax actually internalize the externality? So let's look at it, right? So this is where you'll need to remember from chapter 3 how to analyze a tax in a market. Let's see here, there we go. All right, so the first thing we need to do is remember how a tax impacts the prices. So when we have a tax, there's going to be a wedge between the price that buyers pay and the price that sellers receive. And that price that buyers pay is going to exceed the price that sellers receive by the size of the tax. Okay, and we've just learned that our tax is going to be equal to 0.5. Okay. Um, Okay, so from going back to part D, I accidentally added the quantity. It's just going to be 50 cents per pencil, right? So that's what our equation here relating the price that buyers pay and the price that sellers receive is going to get us. Okay, so let's go ahead and consider our supply and demand equations for this tax, or excuse me, these pencils. So demand is given by 200 minus 10 times the price. And in this case, it's the price that buyers receive since it's a demand curve. And we can go ahead and recognize that we have the price that buyers pay in terms of the price that sellers receive. So we can go ahead and substitute there. So we'll have quantity equal to 200 minus 10 times the price that sellers receive plus 0.5. That's going to give us 200 minus 10 times the price that sellers receive minus 5. Simplifying further, we get then 195 minus 10 times the price that sellers receive. And remember that the private marginal cost here is going to be 2.5 times quantity. And so we can, and we can remember that that is, let me see if I can find it for us up here, right? Right here, 5 halves is 2.5. Quantity equals 2.5 times the price. And we can set quantity demanded next equal to quantity supplied to find now what price sellers are going to receive for pencils given the presence of a 50-cent tax. All right, so we're going to add 10 times the price to both sides. That gives us 195 equal to 12.5 times the price. We'll divide both sides by 10 times the price. Excuse, excuse me, we're going to divide both sides by 12.5. And that's going to give us $15.60 for the price that sellers receive. And we know that the price that buyers pay is 50 cents above that. Okay, so we know that price that buyers receive from our equation, oops, from our previous equation here is going to be 15.60 plus 0.5. So that gives us for buyers $16.10. All right. And now that we have the value of the price that sellers receive and the value of the price that buyers pay, we can find the quantity traded. So quantity supplied is going to be equal to 2.5 times the price that sellers receive. So that's 2.5 times $15.60. And that's going to give us 39 boxes of pencils. And for our Demand, we have 200 minus 10 times 16.10. And that's going to get us 200 minus 161.1, which is about 39 units. And is that what we had previously? It is not. So it seems like perhaps something went wrong in our previous. I know what happened here. So I actually miswrote our given. So once you get to this point, maybe go back and revise your notes. But our external marginal cost is not 50 cents times Q, it's just constant at 50 cents. And so when we find the social marginal cost here, we're going to have 0.4 times quantity plus 0.5 as our answer. And that means now that our market price that we found and our quantity is not correct. So why don't we go back and revise this here? And I'll just replace that previous video.